Hey everyone, so it's been over a year since I did a speed simulator video, but it is one of the most popular series on this channel and we are still getting suggestions for it. So with that in mind, let's get back to it. So, at the minute I just have this one standalone video planned. I'll add it to the series. Obviously I won't redo the full course video. I did a video with the full course, but I'm not going to redo that to add this video. So think of this as optional, you don't have to have it. But someone did ask for it, so I thought we may as well deliver. So this video, I will show you how to make a settings GUI, and in that settings GUI you're going to be able to adjust the speed of the player. Sort of like in other speed simulator games, I don't know if there's like Legends of Speed or something, I think it's something called that. You can adjust your speed and set it to a certain value so you don't have to go really quick. Obviously you can't set it to a value higher than what your speed can be or lower than 0, but you can still set it. So to get started we need to add a new screen GUI. So under Starter GUI I'm going to add in a screen GUI and I'll rename this screen GUI to Settings GUI. And in this Settings GUI I want to add a button first of all. I'm going to add a text button and this will be to open the frame. I'll change the text to, text, settings, and I'll make the colour the same as everything else. I'll just quickly customise this how I want and I'll get back to you once I've finished. There we go, so I've added my button, I've made it bottom right of the screen so you can go down there, you'll be able to click it. I've not added any UI corners or anything, I might just do that actually, let's just get a corner in there, may as well. Now I'm going to rename this text button, I'll just call it Open BTN or button, but BTN for short. And next we need to add a frame. So let's add a frame into the settings GUI. Again, set this to the size you want. All this frame is going to display is a label that says speed, a text box, which is where they're going to enter the speed they want, and a submit button. So it doesn't need to be big, but I'm going to put it down here. And I'll play around with it and I'll get back to you once I've designed it. There we go, I've just made the text box, the frame and a text label which just sort of says settings. Just to be nice, I'll rename this to title label, just to make it look nice really. Now we need to add a text label in here, so I'll just duplicate the title label and rename this to speed label, and this will just say speed, just so the user knows what it is they're actually changing. So I'll drag this about halfway and I'll make this one say speed. I'll also probably lower the scale, or maybe I'll change the font just so it's not as prominent on the screen. So I'll make this one, I don't know, I'll just pick something. And we also want to add into the frame a text box. Now this is where the user will be able to enter in the number they want. So I'm going to line this up with, let me sort all the sizing out, 0.10, 0.10, just so we haven't got any offset and it's all scale. And I'm going to line this up to where I want. If you do want to learn what each of the UI elements are, like text boxes in more detail, do check out our Roblox GUI 101 series, which you can find the link to in the description. Now that I've added this text box, I'm going to keep that there. I will add like a little corner on that, but I'm going to keep the background white because I want them to know where they're typing into. Or maybe I'll make the background dark, like a darker blue. So if I pick this colour and then go darker, like that. There we go. And then I also want a submit button. So I'll rename this to entry box. And I'm going to add in a submit button. So text button. Or yeah, text button, which I'll rename to submit, which is short for button. And I'll just play around with that quickly, get that to how I want it. So I'm going to pick that screen colour, just set the size. I'll just set the size to 1010 and then scale it down. On the Y, it's about there. I'll make the text say submit or confirm. Make the text white, scale it up, and I'll just make the background of the button a little bit darker, just so again we know where the button is. I'll actually pick that colour there, and sorted. That looks alright. Now let's add a local script. I'm not going to add it to the frame, but the settings GUI. So local script into the settings GUI, and we need to write some code. First of all, we need to get our player, so local player is game.players.localPlayer. Next, we need to get any variables that are related to the boxes or the UI elements. So let's start with getting the open button. So open btn equals script.parent is the settings GUI dot open button. Let's actually get the GUI as well, just because I'm thinking this will be a lot easier. So let's say local GUI equals script dot parent, and then we could say open button is GUI, and we may as well wait for child with these because we want to make sure they load in. So GUI wait for child open button, and then we'll also get the text box. So local text box equals GUI. We actually want the frame as well, so let's go for local frame equals GUI colon wait for child frame, and then we can say text box is frame colon wait for child, and we want the text box, or the entry box I call it. And finally we want to get the reset button, and I just realised that confirm button is useless, and you'll see why in a minute. So this reset button will be frame colon wait for child, and this will be reset button or BTN. And so let me rename the submit button to reset button. It shouldn't be submit, it should be reset. So I'm changing the text as well. The reason is when you click off the entry boxes, we're going to program it so it automatically applies your speed. You don't have to click an apply button, and the reset will just put it back to default. Now before we do the code to open and close the panel, or like when the reset button's clicked, let's just get the main functionality out of the way first. So text box dot focus lost colon connect function. Now when focus lost is called, it does pass in enter, or like a sort of enter pressed, a boolean, as you can see here actually it says, which just tells you whether the user pressed enter on their keyboard or if they just clicked off the text box. So if they clicked off of it, it won't be selected anymore, but it will still call this function. But if they press enter, then it will call this function, but it won't be selected as well. So you can do this to your liking. You can have it so the user has to press enter. I don't know how that works on mobile, but the user has to press enter to put in the number, or they can just click off of it, which is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do it so they can click off of it. I'll still put enter in because I believe it's automatically passed in anyway, but I'm just going to completely ignore it. The first thing I want to do is check that the input into the text box, we need to do some validation. I want to check that it's a number. So we'll just say if to number text box dot text, then so if the text box text is a number, can be converted to a number, then let's just assign that number to a variable. Local number equals to number text box text dot text. Now let's check if the number's less than 0, we want to set it to 0. If number's less than 0, then number equals 0. Or you could go for 0.01 or something, but obviously you don't want the speed to be negative. Otherwise, let's check if it's greater than the than the current speed. So else if number is greater than and their current speed. Now how do we calculate current speed? Let's have a look. So first of all, let's create, just to put under this number, we'll go for local current speed equals. Now, how do we find the local speed, the current speed, sorry. Let's go back to our speed script. Under server script service, go to speed. We see this, if children I, leader stats, points value, blah, blah, blah. We see that we're interested in this line here. Humanoid.walk speed equals children I dot leader stats dot points dot value divided by 20 plus 1. This is our formula. So we're interested in this bit here. So let's copy that. Because this is the formula of our speed. We'll copy that. We'll go into the local script. So local current speed equals, I'll paste that in. Now we get an error for children I because that doesn't exist. We just want the player here. So player, PLR. This variable is created up here. Player.leaderstats.points.value divided by 20 plus 1. Now we can say if number is greater than current speed, then, and then we want to set the number to the current speed. So if the number is greater than the speed we have, we like our best possible speed, we'll just set it to that speed. Once we've done that validation, we can actually continue. So we'll say textbox.text equals toString number. So once we've got our number, we'll just convert it to a string. So the reason we do this is because if we've adjusted any of our numbers, we want to adjust the text box text. So if they put in -5 once we've validated it, we want to update the text box text to say 0 and not -5 because we've set it to 0. Now we'll say local diff speed, and we'll get to this bit in a minute. So at the minute I'm just going to write it, but we will come back to this because it's going to be a bit confusing at the minute. But just hear me out, it'll make sense in a minute. Local diff speed equals player, find first child, different speed, ? Just like that, capitals and everything correct, make sure it is. So if diff speed, then if player, find first child, applied speed, again spelled exactly like this with the capitalization correct, then game.replicatedStorage.setting events set speed fire server, and we're going to pass in true and number. Now the reason that I've done this here before we've made any of this stuff is because it's out of the way. That's really it. It's just out of the way now. If you do want to make the other stuff first, go for it. But I feel like it will all piece together nicer if I do this first and then we create it, because then you can sort of see where we're going with this. Now, before we do get on to creating all of this stuff, just in this original, the first if statement here, we want an else, and we'll just say textbox.text equals enter number, because we want to tell them to enter a number, because if they've entered a string is not a number, so we want them to enter a number. Now let's just do the buttons that open and close and reset. I'll do the reset actually for now. So reset button dot mouse button one click connect function if player find first child different speed ? Spelled exactly like that. Then game.replicatedStorage.setting events .set speed fire server, passing in false and 0. Now I know this doesn't make any sense at the minute because we've not done this yet, but it will all come together in a minute. Else you're going to warn different speed ? Does not exist within player. So what this does is when the reset button's clicked, it will set our different speed boolean state to false. Again, you don't understand what this means right now, but we are going to get to it. Just bear with me 1 second. If we can't find the different speed, we're just going to tell them, we're just going to warn that the speed doesn't exist. Maybe it's not loaded in yet. Now let's just do the open button dot mouse button one click connect function. This one's pretty easy. Script.parent.visible. Not script.parent.visible, sorry. We'll just say frame.visible equals not frame.visible. Easy. Now we can close this local script up. Actually, before, we want to keep that open because I will just do something in a minute. I'm going to make this frame invisible because we don't want to be able to see it until they click the settings button. And the only other thing I'll do is, we'll do a couple more things. We'll go to the Leaderstats script and scroll all the way to the bottom. Now, underneath all the upgrade stuff, this is where we're going to add new stuff. Local diff speed equals instance.new bool value inside of the player diff speed dot name equals, and here we go, we're going to go back to the local script, copy this different speed ? that we've got in this find first child and paste it in here just so we know it's spelled exactly the same. And then I'm also going to set the value to false by default. Now I will drop down again and we'll create a local applied speed equals instance.new. This will be a number value, not an int value because they can put in a decimal speed, just a number value because that includes decimals. It will be inside the player, the name, and again I'm going to go into our local script, copy the applied speed and paste it in so I know it's spelled exactly the same, otherwise this will not work. Applied speed.value, by default I'll just set to 0. It doesn't actually matter. The applied speed only takes effect if the different speed is true. So the different speed only gets set to true if we are adjusting our speed. If we're not adjusting our speed and we're just going with the flow, then it will be false and the applied speed won't do anything. Now under replicated storage, let's add a new folder. I'll right click on this folder and okay, I've just deleted it. Right click, rename this to setting events. Again, make sure this is spelled exactly the same as we spelt it in the local script. Here, the game.replicate.setting events. And then we're going to add in a remote event and rename this to set speed. Again, spelled exactly how we spell it in the local script. I cannot emphasize that enough. Now let's go into our event script. At the very bottom, I'm going to add game.replicate.storage.setSpeed.onServerEvent::connect function passing in the player, or taking the player as a parameter, the different speed and the speed value, or applied speed. I'll go for speed value. And all we'll do here is say player.applied_speed.value equals speed value, and player, and then I'm going to have to use square brackets here because we have the question mark. Player open square brackets quotation marks different speed question mark close quotation marks close square brackets dot value equals different speed. So when we set the speed in the local script, we're calling the set speed remote event. We're firing it, sorry. Or same thing. So once it's been fired, we're setting the applied speed of the player to the speed that's been input into the text box, and we're setting the different speed boolean state to the difference. So true if we want to go for a set speed, or if we are resetting it, we pass in false, as you saw. We passed in false to reset it. Just put 0 just because you can put anything there, it doesn't apply. Just go for 0 to be safe. False because we want to turn it off. So false will set the different speed value to false, and then it won't do anything at all anyway. Now we're not done just yet. There's one last thing we need to do. Go into our speed script, and we need to make, this is where we need to make the biggest changes. So after we've defined the humanoid, I want to drop down, so onto line 6, and say if children I find first child different speed question mark, spell exactly how we spell it, then, and then if children I different speed, just copy and paste this so I know it's all spelt right, dot value is false, then, so if the different speed is within the player, and if the value is false, then we want to set the humanoid walk speed to children I Leaderstat to our little formula. Okay, so if the different speed value is false, then we want to copy this if statement and set the walk speed to our formula. However, if the value is true, so else on this if statement here, the different speed value on, if it's true, it's a bit more complicated. If the different speed value is true, we want to check that the, so if children I find first child applied speed, so we want to check that applied speed exists, so that it's loaded into the player. We'll set the humanoid walk speed, so hum.walk speed equals children I dot applied speed dot value. Else we'll just warn applied speed does not exist within the player. Maybe it just hasn't loaded, that's all. Just that stops us getting errors, and then we can remove this final if statement here. Now I know this is all really confusing, it looks it as well, but now it will work, or it should do if you've done everything right. I do say now go into view and make sure your output is enabled, and drag it up a bit because it's normally really small, so just make it a bit bigger. Just because we need to know if we get any errors, because there was a lot of spelling specific stuff here, and if any of it's wrong we will get errors. So let's go to test. I'm just going to mute the game as well and hit play. Let's say I'm running around and I'm really quick. Now let's click settings and it opens up, and I'm going to put in hello world and hit enter, and it says enter number, so that didn't work. Let's put in minus and then a huge number, and it sets it to 0. Now we can't move. Something more sensible would be to set it to something like 0.01, but I just went for 0, and now I can't move at all. Now let's set it to 10, and we move at 10 speed. If we collect an orb, okay, the orbs don't work. I'll have a look at that actually. Let's have a look at that in a second, because I'm not sure why they're not working. But now let's set something huge, right? So obviously we're not going to have that much speed. If we set that it sets it to our maximum speed. There we go. Let me just sell my stamina or whatever. And now if I hit reset, we're back to normal. So actually you can't tell reset there, but let's go to 10 and then hit reset and we're back to normal speed. And we hit settings and it closes. And that's perfect. It doesn't save. You can add this to the data store and save the set speed or whether they have it enabled. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. But I am going to have a look at this. Because what is going on here? Attempt to index nil with leader stats. Player.leaderstats to points.value. What was I thinking when I made this? Alright, this might need some reworking. That should be a humanoid, not a player. The player is game.players. Get player from character. Maybe, I don't know if I've messed something up. If anyone gets the error with the orbs, attempt to index nil with leader stats, and they can't fix it, please let me know. Or if you have a fix, please put it in the description, or in the comments, sorry. But if anyone does have that problem, let me know, and I'll have a little look at fixing it. I'm not going to redo the whole series, because I feel like it's really unnecessary. Because this is fairly new still. But that's it. So yeah, I'll look at the orbs if anyone's got any more problems. I think I might have just messed something up because I'm pretty sure it worked before. But if everyone's got errors, let me know in the comments and I will have a look at the orbs. I'll do another little quick fix or something on them. Or if anyone's got a fix, please put it in the comments. But other than that, that's it for with the series for now. These are just standalone videos. I'll add it to the series playlist. Just if anyone gets any suggestions, I'll just play it by ear. But for now, there really isn't much more for me to add, but if anyone gets any ideas, let me know. We do have a video suggestion form in the description, which you can find. It's just a Google form, and you can just put in a video description. There's more information on that there. But yeah, so I hope you found it helpful, everyone. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.